All right, what is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? Let's talk about how you can make money on Bitcoin in 2024 in the stock market. All right, we're seeing tons of bullish setups on Bitcoin. I've been posting these in the Discord. We have a very basic bull flag right here, and I'm going to teach you guys a lot in today's video. It's going to be a really good one. All right, most people know a bull flag. Some people know the inverse head and shoulders. We have an inverse bump and run right here, which is really one of my favorite chart patterns I learned about 2 years ago. It's been treating me very nice. And here we've got the plumber's pivot, which is something I came up with that name. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys have a better name for it. I'm going to break it down why it's called that in today's video. All right. But there's other names that you can trade. Yes, there are Bitcoin ETFs now, but there's many other stocks that actually move, with a greater magnitude, right? They have higher beta. So let's say if Bitcoin moves 1%, some of these stocks, they'll move 2%, right? Or Bitcoin moves 3%. Some of these stocks will move 6%, right? CleanSpark, CLSK is one of those. We'll go over a weekly chart pattern here. We'll break down the daily chart, right? This is one of my favorites to trade here recently. We've got Riot, right? We'll go over potentially what are the best ones, right? Do you want to be in a laggard or do you want to be in something that's been showing lots of strength and been a leader? That's a question you got to ask yourself, right? A lot of people like to play the catch-up trade, and a lot of people really just like to play strength. That's up to you. So we'll break down the stocks that are crypto related that have been laggards and been leaders. And you guys can make that determination for yourself. We'll go over the anchored VWAP in today's video. Amara, retesting the anchored VWAP here today. Very critical. We can stay above this anchored VWAP. Things get bullish and bullish and bullish. We'll break down why that is. We'll take a look at Coinbase. Coin, very clean here. RSI breakout, falling wedge breakout, MACD crossed over, and we'll talk about MicroStrategy, MSTR. We'll break down all of these in today's videos. These are the crypto stocks that I'm trading when I want to get exposure to Bitcoin in the stock market, and more specifically via the options market, where you can even leverage even more. Now, as always, the content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only, and it's not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice. So be sure to read through the disclaimer. And if you're new to the channel, I started a completely free newsletter for you guys called Investment Intelligence, giving out free, valuable finance and trading content. I highly suggest you guys sign up for that. I try to sprinkle in free trade ideas in there as well. And there's a website associated with it. So it is completely free. You can go back, check out some of the previous articles, check out some of the previous newsletters, and it's something you want. Email directly to your inbox, just sign up. Okay. Now you can actually get into the Investment Intelligence Discord for just $1. This is where all of the chart setups that we're going to go over in today's video were already posted last week, guys. Last week, I was saying, hey, crypto is about to make a move over the weekend. Now's the time you want to get in on those crypto stocks for the moves that we've been seeing this week, right? And it's still early in the week, but it's only $1 to join if you use promo code May24. And the reason being is because I'm doing some upgrades and I'm launching some new products and packages. And while we're going through that transition, I'm letting people join for just $1. If you join, all right, you'll get access to all of those new products and packages. You'll be grandfathered in before people have to purchase them separately from the Discord access. Okay, so it's a really amazing price, and all of the charts and all of these breakouts, everything we're going over in today's video, these charts were already posted for the Discord members last week before the breakouts happened, right? Because a lot of people will tell you something after moves already happened. I'm trying to spot, where are the moves? Where are the trends? I post 20 plus swing trade ideas every single week in that Discord. Now, this is the first one that I highlighted to members, the bull flag, right? It's a very textbook, one of the most common and basic chart patterns you can find. You have your strong move up and then you get this consolidation. We broke out, guys. We've broken out. Now, Bitcoin may come back down to retest this. That's fine. That's perfectly healthy. Or, we may continue going higher. We've got a little bit of a fair value gap. We're not going to go into fair value gaps today and overcomplicate the video, but this is a good sign. Bitcoin looks good. And, if this bull flag was to play out, this is going to take Bitcoin up to the 90K area, 90 to 95K area. This isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't going to happen in a week. So don't get too excited. But this is a general price target area after this bull flag breakout. Now, we also have the inverse head and shoulders. We got a left shoulder, head, right shoulder right here. Here was our neckline. Look at how well we respected the technicals, guys. Right? So, if you're looking at the bull flag and you're wanting to know, hey, should I get into the bull flag early, right? Before a breakout, right? Because we see the potential setup here. And we see that it has the potential to break out, but do we want to enter early, right? Are we someone who wants to enter early before the actual breakout? Well, there was a chart pattern suggesting, yeah, maybe actually there is a traded opportunity there before, right? And that was the inverse head and shoulders, right? We got our neckline right here. We came up, consolidated at that neckline, and had a massive breakout candlestick here. All right, and you can enter on the breakout of this inverse cup and handle, and now you're already in the bull flag breakout because you saw the lower time frame or the smaller inverse head and shoulders, right? Which is projecting to take us back up towards that all-time high overhead supply. Then we've got an inverse bump and run pattern here. Now, not too many people are familiar with this pattern. I'm not going to make it very complicated. It's actually one of the easiest. You have a prevailing trend, so that's your top trend line here, and the prevailing trend is down. Have a high, you have a lower high, and then you get an aggressive bump, right? And you get this aggressive bump down in price that Bitcoin saw. The run is when you break the trend line of the bump, right? And in a perfect world scenario, it's going to take you up to that first trend line here, and then you break through there and retest the highs of that level. That is the inverse bump and run. This is the drawing that I showed people in the Discord saying, hey, not only do we have the bull flag, not only do we have the inverse head and shoulders, we've also got an inverse bump and run. And it couldn't have played out even more perfectly, right? And even right now, when we're looking at the price action, and if you're just looking at the bull flag breakout or you're just looking at the inverse head and shoulders, you may be wondering why we saw a rejection there, right? You're not seeing any trend lines, you're not seeing any resistance there. But when you come to the inverse bump and run, you see that where did we reject? Right along that trend line, and we're pulling back as projected, right? You got the initial breakout, retest, push higher. Now we're hitting resistance. And now we're looking to see where are we going to find support and potentially eventually break through this to retest, if not make new all-time highs. Now, this right here is something I call the plumber's pivot. All right. Now, don't focus too much on the name. What it is something that I want everyone to learn. It's a bull market pattern specifically, and it's essentially a false top, okay? You look at all these tops that we had. We had a top here, we had a top here, we had a top here, we had a top here. All of these are failed tops that ended up making new highs. And what you see is you see this topping pattern, right? You see a little bit of a rounded top, sometimes a double top, sometimes a head and shoulders, and they fail, right? You see a false breakdown here, and then a very strong move to the upside. And then here, we've got this very long topping pattern, right? And we're not able to break out. We're not able to make new highs. We come back down, test support just as we did over here. And what do you see? It was a plumber's pivot, right? And it gets that name because you're not able to flush. The bears, they're looking for a flush here, right? They're looking for a flush. The bears over here, we tested this support. They're looking for a flush breakdown. Over here, we have this top. Right? We have old resistance becomes new support. Bears are looking for a flush, right? Over here, we have a topping pattern forming, right? We have highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, consecutive lower highs. We're starting to make lows, lower lows, right? This old resistance becomes new support. And what do we see? We see a false flush, right? A false move leads to a fast move. And that's one of the most important things that you guys can learn in this market. One of my favorite quotes that I've really been emphasizing for the entire year to all of my YouTube viewers, false moves lead to fast moves. And if you're in a bull market, oftentimes you're going to see false bearish moves. You're going to see bearish setups that fail to follow through. Hence the name, the plumber's pivot, is because here bears are looking for a flush, right? We just broke support. We're looking for the flush to the downside. We can't get a flush, guys. Every time we try to get a flush, it never happens. Hence the name, the plumber's pivot, because you need to call a plumber because you can't get it to flush, right? And that's what we're looking at. This is one of my favorite chart patterns, super bullish. This was the main reason I even bought into some crypto stocks. As soon as we saw this breakdown, I said, you know what? I've seen this pattern again over here. I've seen it over here, and I've seen it over here. I see this all across the market, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in stocks, whether it's in tech, whether it's in industrials, whether it's in staples, utilities, energy. I see this pattern over and over again, and it's something you guys need to recognize as well because it leads to very large potential profits, right? And it's just that failure to flush, right? You're not seeing the follow through from the bears. When we come back down and retest this level here, we're supposed to reject and continue heading lower. That's not what happened at all, right? Now, let's get into some of the stocks that you guys can trade. CleanSpark, one of those. Now, when we're looking at larger time frames, right? This is a weekly chart. This is a 2-3 year chart pattern that we have. Okay, so for this chart pattern to play out, It's not going to happen in 2-3 days. It's not going to happen in 2-3 weeks. It might not even happen in 2-3 months, right? This is something that could take 6 months, a year, potentially even many years to play out. But it's a giant inverse, it's a giant cup and handle, right? You've got your cup, right? We saw a little bit of resistance, a little bit of pullback, and we're consolidating now. This sideways chop here is our handle currently. And if we break above the highs, basically around 2250, we're looking for a move at least back up to 30, potentially to the all-time highs for CleanSpark. Now, this is our daily candlestick chart, right? Let's talk about these plumbers pivots. Let's talk about some very simple metrics and chart, dynamics. Old resistance, new support, new support. When we came down here, posted this in the Discord, grabbed longs on CleanSpark, super clean trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green trading days in a row. So an entire green week of trading right here. Really, really great profits. We broke through our first price target. We came up to the second price target, took profits here, and as soon as we started to close back down below, exited that trade. All right. And now what are we seeing? Right? What do we see? Well, we formed a nice big base. Okay. Now here's our base. We have our main level, which is 1785, our 38.2% Fibonacci retracement. And above here, we're looking for longs, right? Looking for longs. We also have a downtrend that we rejected here, rejected here, rejected here. And guess what now? We've finally broken out of this downtrend. Now, we're not getting the cleanest price action right now. We saw a super strong move, but this is ultimately a bearish, right? We have a doji indecision candlestick, and now we have a spinning top right here. Not the best look in CleanSpark specifically, but in terms of relative strength to some of the other Bitcoin miners, this one did break its downtrend and is still closing above it, right? So CleanSpark, one to pay attention to, right? Ultimately, we're really still bullish on CleanSpark above 1785. But when it comes to specific candlestick patterns, not the most bullish setup here, right? Not the most bullish setup, if I'm being honest. Okay. So I wanted to get in CleanSpark, but after this price action today, I'm gonna have to look, right? Now, this blue line here is what's known as an anchored VWAP. A VWAP stands for volume weighted average price. Now, there's Thinkorswim. I have a custom script that you guys can get an anchored VWAP on there. TradingView is really amazing, just has a button and you can use it. We anchored it to the previous cycle highs. The reason you use this is because below an anchored VWAP, bears are in control, okay? Bears are in control of price action. Above an anchored VWAP, buyers are in control. And so you can anchor them to very specific points. And in this case, we want to know from the previous high, right? I want to know who's in control from the previous high. We know bears are in control after we had a massive sell-off here, but I want to know when can I get long this stock and when is the average buyer from this specific date that we have it anchored to in control of price. And when you're above that, that's a good sign. And that's exactly what we did. Last week, we closed above it. Really great trading day. And here we are still holding above it. So we're above the anchored VWAP, cross that off our checklist for bullish bias. We're above the 38.2% Fibonacci, cross that off our checklist for bullish bias. All right. And so overall, CleanSpark does have a little bit more of a bullish tilt to it. We'll see if it remains that way. Right. Here's Riot. Okay. Riot looks much different than CleanSpark. Right. When you simply just look at the VWAP, right? You look at the prior cycle highs and you take a look at where we're at right now. We're still trading below here. So the average seller, the average bear is in control from this price action anchor spot right here. Look at where our anchor VWAP aligns with also here, right at the 38.2% Fibonacci level, right? Which is 1281. So for this one, not saying that Riot can't go bullish here if Bitcoin goes bullish. But for me, when I'm looking at strength, I really want to see this above 1281. Above 1281, then Riot becomes a little more promising to me. This is one that I do have a little bit of exposure to, very small position. The option contracts are very cheap on this. Due to the price, right? Not necessarily cheap from a valuation or Greek standpoint, but in terms of dollar cost amount, they don't cost as much as something like MicroStrategy or Coinbase. Okay. Now here's Marathon, Mara. Mara looks really good. Mara's got big news coming, right? They just announced some type of event. Look at our anchored VWAP, right? We have the prior cycle highs. We're closing above it, guys. We still held above it today. So in terms of relative strength, right? This is much weaker, right? Mara, much stronger. All right, look what we have here. Potential plumber's pivot, right? We've got this topping pattern. Bears are looking for us to flush through price here. There's a gap down to fill, guys. We're not getting the gap fill. We had strong support here. We bounced up. We've seen a very strong move, and now we're above the previous cycle high, all-time, not all-time high, but previous cycle high anchored VWAP. This lets us know that the average buyer from March is now in the green, right? And so this is positive. This is a bullish bias right here. All right, so we're looking to see, can Mara basically hold above $21? Above 21, Mara looks good. Mara looks bullish. Now, Coinbase had one of the cleanest technical setups that I've seen. My Coinbase call options are up almost 100%. I think at one point today they were up 100%, and the move is just starting, guys, right? We have the falling wedge, right? Very clean to see. A, B, C, D, E, right? A little bit of a falling wedge here. We've got the breakout. The RSI broke out, right? This is something that if you're someone who has more risk appetite, you can potentially buy into stocks early before the chart breaks out because of the RSI breaking out, right? Look at where the RSI broke out. That was back over here, right? Back here before the chart pattern broke out, right? So bought in here, we saw a dip, right? And it was a little bit tough to stomach the volatility, but we know we're holding support and above 195, we're bullish on coin and we're looking for a move back up to 228, 250, and 283. And look at what we've done. All right, we've already gotten above our 38.2% Fibonacci. We closed above there. We have the previous cycle highs, anchored VWAP, and look at where we closed today, exactly at that. Bulls were not able to close above, right? And so this is something that we want to see in the future. Above 228, I think you can still look at longs in Coinbase. And with here, where we're at right now, you're looking at a very minimal risk in terms of a risk to reward ratio, right? You have your stop loss down here. Right, and then you have your reward up there, targeting 249.65 is going to be your first area of interest. So really good setup right now. In the Discord, we were talking about the MACD curling, right? Over here, it was starting to curl. It hadn't fully crossed over yet. The MACD has crossed over. Remember, your RSI, leading indicator. This is going to tell you what's going to happen potentially in the future in price action. The MACD, lagging indicator. This is what's going to tell you what's happened after it's already happened, right? So we look at see where the MACD got a bullish crossover. It's after we broke out. After we broke out, we saw a bullish crossover. Before we broke out, we saw a breakout on the RSI. And now we're seeing basically three bullish signals from technical analysis standpoint. The fourth one that we're looking for is closing above this anchored VWAP here on the daily time frame, right? And last but not least, we have MicroStrategy. We talked about the MACD cross, right? We had the RSI breakout. Again, this is something that you guys can use to potentially get early entries. Now, the risk with getting early entries, all right, is you can see the RSI breakout, but the price may never break out, and it could be a false breakout on the RSI. So it's something that depends on your own risk appetite, but very clean, rejected this trend line 4 or 5 times here, broke out, and we've seen very strong and clear price action in MicroStrategy, right? We're trading well above the anchor VWAP from the previous cycle highs. We had an inverse head and shoulders here that we posted in the Discord. We're above the 38.2% Fibonacci, and we're above the 61.8% Fibonacci, which if you look, we wicked down and tested as support today at 1621, and things are looking good in MicroStrategy. Above 1621, I think you want to be long, targeting 2000. All right, below 1621, don't really want to be involved. Okay, below 1600, let's call it. Below 1600, not really looking to be involved. So you're risking about 50 points to potentially make, 250 points, 350 points. So you want to talk about good risk reward ratios. There's lots of really good risk reward ratios for the patient people, right? And one of the main things that people don't seem to understand with risk to reward and defining your risk is, when you're at something like this, where, we're talking about a stock that's, thousands of dollars per share, and you're only risking 47 or 50 points, it's very easy to stop out. And then a lot of people get frustrated when it gets back above those prices and make new highs. Your trade theory is still valid, guys. We're just simply saying, hey, above 1621, we're looking for longs, right? So let's say it dips down to 1590, you get stopped out. And then the very next day, it's back above 1621. Well, now you're back in your trade again, and you're using that same stop loss, right? Because with the risk reward ratio, skewed in your favor that way with, a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio, you can afford to get stopped out of that play, 1 or 2 times, potentially even 3 times, But if on that third time you end up winning the play, you know, then those losses are going to be made up for by your wins, right? And your gain is going to outweigh the previous losses that you may have had. So don't get too frustrated, right? Respect your stop losses. You know, this is a bull market. You want to focus on strength, right? If one of these stocks is just, you know, not showing the strength and it keeps stopping you out, you know, and you're seeing follow through in a lot of these other stocks, then maybe it's time to look for some different opportunities, right? Because you want to play the strength into a bull market. And in my opinion, you want to focus on the leaders versus the laggards. You know, now you can do whatever you want, but that's something to me that just, you know, has been working and continues to work, and really what I focus on a lot these days, right? Now, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, you're going to enjoy the content in the newsletters, all right? I post exclusive content in the newsletters. It's completely free. You can check out the website, or you can use the link in the description to sign up for completely free. Don't forget, you can get into the Discord right now using promo code May24. That'll get you in for just $1 for your first month. And then after that, you pay the regular monthly fee, but you're going to get access and grandfathered into all of the new features, all of the exclusive packages and bundles that will be available for purchase in the future after May. So while we're kind of going through that transitioning, and I'm still recording a lot of the content for that, you know, I'm letting people just get in basically for free for their first month. And that's where all of these charts, guys, every single chart we went over in today's video was already posted last week, right? And if you've been able to capitalize, we haven't even seen the real breakouts yet, or you know, the real moves potentially that a lot of these stocks, you know, have setups for. We're just now starting to see a little bit of some of those moves. You know, you could have got in last week, guys. You know, got in the Coinbase last week, went up about 100% today. I didn't look at where it was by close, but you know, that thing was sitting very nicely, right? I think around 89% last time I looked at it. I still have over a month left on those option contracts, right? So, you know, if Coinbase sees it's really its full potential move, you know, those call options could go up 2, 3, 400% from now. And so I'm really looking forward to see, you know, what happens with crypto, if we can get follow through on a lot of these bullish setups, or whether or not we just chop around or start to get a pullback. I'd love to hear your opinion on what your favorite stocks are when it comes to getting exposure to the cryptocurrency markets. Do you prefer the ETFs? Do you like trading the miners, or do you like trading some of these other plays like MicroStrategy and Coinbase? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.